get to you in that capacity. We are complying with all state of Indiana requirements for virtual meetings due to COVID-19. And with that, I guess I should have made sure that Brenda was actually on here. I think she's coming there now. Brenda?
Yes.
Okay, we have already started the meeting. We are to the roll call section. If you could call the board members, and as all votes tonight will be by roll call, and we'll be doing this.
Yes. Jamie King.
I'm present.
Glenn Tebby.
Present.
Rodney King. And Karen Russ. Is Karen Russ not with us? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm here.
Thank you. And Rodney King is here also, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Kristen, is there a way we could mute a couple lines that are giving a lot of feedback? Like the one that ends in 914 is giving a lot of feedback.
Yep, give me just a second.
Can't hear you.
Is that better for
There we go. I can hear you.
Okay. Approval of minutes, March 2nd, 2020.
I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Brenda, roll call vote, please, on approval of the minutes, March 2nd, 2020.
Jamie King.
Yes.
Glenn Tebby.
Yes.
Rodney King.
Yes.
And Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay, there was an addition to the agenda that was presented. Mila's Mission was supposed to have their 5K on May 16th. Obviously, they have asked for that to be moved. This was brought up over a month ago, and I think I talked to the board in different chunks about that. They would like to move it to July 25th, but we do need a motion to actually close those streets. It's the same route that the board had approved before, but it's just a new date.
What was the new date again?
July 25th.
I would move approval of moving the date for Mila's Mission to July 25th.
I'll second.
Brenda, roll call vote, please, on the move.
Jamie King.
Yes.
Glenn Tebby.
Yes.
Rodney King.
Yes.
And Karen Rust.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Mark Carman with the Tree City Fall Festival, requesting road closures for the Fall Festival Parade. Mark?
Good evening. The Fall Festival comes to you tonight to request street closures for the upcoming Tree City Fall Festival, which will be held September 18th and 19th. We're asking for the street closures to be commenced at no later than 6 a.m. on Friday morning, the 18th. But ideally, we would like to close those on Thursday evening due to parking issues with some cars around the square, getting those moved for our Friday morning setup. We're also asking for the street closures for the traditional parade route for the Herb Kohler Memorial Parade on Saturday morning. We ask for those closings from North Broadway next to KB Foods and all the intersections coming south on Broadway to the square, beginning at 9 a.m. and have that run through 11:30 a.m. We're working hard to continue the success over the last few years that we've all enjoyed. We have a large amount of entertainment this year. We have scheduled music to play from 11 p.m. until 11 p.m. on Friday evening and on Saturday evening as well. The two bands that are scheduled to arrive in Greensburg on Saturday night are coming from Maryland. We will provide documentation of our insurance rider, a $1 million carrier, to you prior to the festival beginning. We will have security walking the square during the down hours of the festival, And I have spoken with Chief Bridges and Sheriff Durant about patrols during the actual hours of the operation, and they've both agreed to provide that for us. We're again partnering with Special Olympics for the Caleb Brown Memorial 5K run. Something new this year, we will be partnering with Main Street Greensburg and presenting their Tenderloin Throwdown during the festival itself. These will be great attractions for people to attend and bringing revenues to Greensburg. We're hoping that through this pandemic, and this is something that we can all enjoy in September. If any of you have any questions or concerns, you can reach me at any time at 812-614-0594, which is my cell, and 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily at 812-663-6. My work desk. We're all praying for our community to get back to a normal time, and this concludes the presentation for this evening for the request.
Thank you, Mark. Chief Stoermer or Chief Bridges, any comments or concerns?
I don't have any. I've got none at this time.
Okay. Board members?
Yes. When do you start posting signs, letting people know they're going to have to move their vehicles because you're going to close the square and the street for parades and such?
That is something that Chief Bridges coordinates. Broadway Street. I think Chief Bridges, do you normally put those out like on Wednesday evening?
Yes, we do it both on Wednesday and Thursday. I give them 2 days to get their vehicles moved, and usually that's always been a decent time for them to move. So,
Okay. I'm just wondering if there's any concerns about closing at third evening in regards to businesses around the square, still conducting business Thursday evening, what issues it could cause.
The only businesses that it typically would affect would be the tap and possibly the beach, depending on what they're doing. They would be the only two businesses that would still be open. Typically, Franklin Street we don't do anything with on Friday or on Thursday night. That would end up closed at 6 a.m. on Saturday on Friday for the setup. And I will speak with Trish and Lou both at their respective businesses. There's never been an issue with them in the past, but if there is issue, we can definitely move it to Friday morning.
I'm not really opposed to either. If any other board members have a stronger opinion on it.
I guess I'd make the motion to approve the street closures, and starting Thursday night, as long as there's no issue with Lou and Trish on their businesses. If they have concerns, then let's move it to Friday morning like we've normally done. But for the parade, the street closures for the Fall Festival and this parade on Saturday as well.
I would second that.
Okay, Brenda, roll call vote on the street closure proposal, please.
Danny King,
Yes.
Glenn Teddy,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
and Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. Feel free to stay for the entire meeting, or if you have to go, we understand.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Chief Bridges, Greensburg Police Department, promotion of Lieutenant Jarrod McCalvin.
yes, so I sent out in the packet last week reference to a recommendation for promotion for Lieutenant Jarrod McCalvin to be promoted to Captain of Administration. That would fall in the exact same line as the patrol captain. There is currently a job description for that, but none needs to be created. There is already a salary ordinance for the patrol captain, and there's already money that is in that line item. So I'm not asking for any additional appropriation or anything like that. I'm just asking for the board's approval for me to promote Lieutenant McCalvin to captain. Like I said, we have one retiring next year who has been doing things here for 20 plus years. So it's definitely going to take some time for that transition. So that's why I'm coming in front of the Board of Works tonight to seek your approval for this promotion.
Chief, what changes will this make with the his current assignment as far as at the junior high?
Actually, he is no longer in the schools. He came out in January. Officer Moore is now in the junior high. I could tell you that actually with this responsibility of Lieutenant McCalvin, he is actually going to be in charge of the SROs, just kind of that buffer between the department and them, keeping in contact in that. Right now I have Lieutenant McCalvin working noon to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, with occasional weekends that he will be working for that supervision. So really not much will change. He'll still have a little bit of both the early afternoon and evenings to help out with patrols. So.
Okay. It sounds like you're trying to make a smooth transition. I see no reason we would say no. I don't know what colleagues think, but I don't know enough to say no, I suppose.
I agree with Glenn.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So Rodney,
Motion
did Rodney make the motion to approve?
Yes, a motion made
Thank you.
by Rodney King, second by Glenn Tebby. Roll call vote, please, Brenda.
One moment. Jamie Kane,
Yes.
Glenn Tebby,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
Dee Rust.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Congratulations to now Captain McCalvin.
Thank you.
Chief Stoermer.
Yes, good evening, Board of Works members. In not quite my 3 months being up, I have now sufficiently, what I feel at least got a hand on issues within the fire department that currently needing fixed and things that not. And to start with that is we've started with the job descriptions. So I have the job descriptions that I'm obviously responsible for, the fire chief and then the fire inspector, who answers directly to me, a position that was approved last year. And then having the other assistant chiefs and officers work on their respective job descriptions. Confusing as it is, I have attached in your packets the PDFs of what the 2016 version was, and then what the 2020 version was, and those are delineated between the 16 and the 20 in the job description. We actually currently do not, and for the foreseeable future, we'll never have a chief fire inspector. We have a fire inspector, and so one thing I have learned in my short time here is if it's written down, it's pretty much taken as a gospel, and it's hard to not necessarily argue that fact, but others will hold to what is written and not what is either is common sense or what is just a verbal agreement. So with that, I have kind of reworked the job descriptions for at least the fire chief and the inspector in hopes to get feedback, to get these approved, and hopefully solidify and or streamline the process for the other positions that we currently have job descriptions on file for. With this being the trial run, I unfortunately was out of state at training the last meeting, and then COVID happened. So obviously this isn't the best platform. I'm willing to take questions, but I'm also willing to discuss this in person. If it would be easier and table this till hopefully our potentially June meeting, I guess, if not July meeting, to discuss further.
I've been just speaking up, but I've already asked for permission first, Mayor.
Go ahead, Glenn. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Chief. What I received was not the 2020 document, but the 97 and the 2016 document. So as far as the fire chief goes, I'm not prepared. I just don't think we're prepared to do that. I think I do have the correct one for the fire inspector. However, I would feel much better about trying to do this when we can sit down and have a conversation among all of us together in a collaborative way, as opposed to this, it's awkward, I guess, is the best, is one way to put it. It's a disjointed way. Anyway.
Correct.
So I'd prefer that we delay it and get the new document out with the changes. I understand some of the corrections or changes that you've made, I think, might be somewhat intuitive, but there may be a chance later on to, give you a call, or we can have, as I said, a conversation in June or July. I don't know if there's an urgency on changing these, so I prefer that we would table this at this time, both job descriptions at this time.
And that's understandable. Yeah, this isn't the most convenient way of doing business, understandably. And there is no urgency. It's just through my leadership plan that I did publish, it is on there to do. So this is one of those things where it's, as everybody else is kind of working, I can continue to clean some stuff up behind the scenes. But
I concur with you trying to make some changes. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't. I just think it'd be easier to do it when we have a better circumstance under which to do it.
Understand, putting them out on a table and actually reading them and going through them, I think conveys a better understanding of what we're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd rather table it so we can all discuss it in the same room and quickly ask and answer questions.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion then that we table this until our next meeting in person. And if there's a reason, Chief, that we need to do it sooner than that, then do it. If we end up having a call next month as well and we have to do it sooner, then you bring that up. But my motion is that we table it, at least for now.
I would second.
Okay. Roll call vote on that, please, Brenda.
Jamie King,
Yes.
Glenn Teddy,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
and Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay, we will bring that up at the next in-person meeting. We next have Jeff Smith, wastewater plant superintendent, to open bids with the assistance of our attorney, Chris Stephen, for the wastewater plant through Strand and Associates. I'll turn it over to Jeff first.
The first one that I'm opening is Dave O'Mara Contractor Incorporated, received at 3:30 p.m. May 4th at 2020. The lump sum bid amount on the bid from O'Mara is $1,194,650. This does have the bid bond. Does have the appropriate anti-discrimination affidavits, E-Verify affidavits, the appropriate certifications. This appears to be a complete bid. Which one are we looking at? The addendum? That's the bid form. the State Board of Accounts questionnaire. Page 2 of the bid form. Yes. It does have addendum number 1. The next bid that I am opening is a bid from Maddox Industrial Group, received at 3:43 p.m., May 4th, 2020. The lump sum bid amount from Maddox Industrial Group is $1,068,500. The appropriate affidavits. This is the contract of bid. This is the non-collusion affidavit. State Board of Accounts. That's the bid bond. I don't see an addendum with this one, so I'm going to give this to you to ask you to look and make sure I'm not missing it, which I've certainly done before. While Mr. Smith is reviewing that document to see if there is an addendum, which I didn't see, I'm going to open the third bid, which was received from C&H/M Excavating Incorporated at 3:50 p.m. May 4th of 2020. You may wait until you had a chance to look through that. It's there? Okay.
Mr. Stevens, may I interrupt you a moment?
Sure.
What was the time on the Dave O'Meara bid for receival?
The Dave O'Meara bid was received at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, so what am I? Oh, here we go. Okay. the Maddox Industrial Group bid does have the appropriate addendum, and so it appears to be a complete bid. C&H/M Excavating. Does show the appropriate addendum. The lump sum bid for that company is $829,517. 829517. And it does appear to have the appropriate bond and documentation. So that appears to be a complete bid as well. Those are the only 3 bids that were received and that I've now opened.
Okay, any further discussion from the board or Mr. Smith? Do you have anything?
My recommendation is to table this till the next meeting and time to begin to wait for the documentation and make a recommendation. The next board meeting on which contract we accept.
I would concur in that.
I'll make a motion and then we table it till our next meeting. That way they've got a chance to review the bids.
Second.
Those roll call vote, please, Brenda.
Yes. Who's second?
Glenn.
Glenn?
I'm sorry, yes, Glenn.
Okay, thank you, Glenn, and I apologize for not, sometimes there's a little glitch there. Jamie Kane?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Glenn Teddy?
Yes.
Rodney King?
Yes.
And Karen Rust?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we will review that at the next meeting. Mark Klosterkemper at the Street Department. Supplemental construction engineering contract for Veterans Way Phase 2.
Good evening. In the package, you should have received a document that's titled Amendment Number 1. This is for the construction engineering and inspection on Veterans Way Phase 2. This has been changed due to the fact that the contract was delayed for a couple of years. The timing of the project is such that we will be involved in 2 construction seasons, so the anticipated costs have increased. And you can see the amount in front of you. It's a total contract now of $484,859.44. This has been submitted to NDOT, approved by them. They have made the additional funding for 80% of this available. And likewise, the redevelopment commission has had a chance to look at it, and they've agreed to pay the remaining 20%. Any questions?
Yes. Does a 30% increase for 1 year normal?
Not for 1 year as far as the base contract, but if you'll look, because of the time frame, Rodney, where we're going through 2 construction seasons and the project scope changing, we have gone from a 39-week contract to a 68-week contract, as was submitted for bids.
I understand. Thank you.
The other thing to know is this contract is based on hours of service delivered, so it can come in less than this. It will not exceed this amount unless there is an additional addendum for the contract.
I would move approval of the amendment number 1.
Second.
Jamie Kane? Oh,
Yes.
do you need discussions, Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry.
Anything else from the board? Okay, roll call vote, please, Brenda.
Jamie Kane?
Yes.
Glenn Teddy?
Yes.
Rodney King?
Yes.
and Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay, Mark, you also have a request to enter NDOT LPA contract for CCMG 2020-1.
One last thing on the one was just approved. I checked today. There has not been a stipulation made that we can get by with a lone signature. So we'll probably leave 2 copies of this in the clerk treasurer's office, and I will need 3 of board work members to stop by and sign this.
My office is available from 8 and afternoon. Sometimes after 2:30, we are not in the office.
Okay.
Will that be available tomorrow?
Excuse me, Rodney?
Will that be available tomorrow?
Yes, it will be.
By 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yes, it will be.
Thank you.
And it'll be in Brenda's office to sign?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
You may need to alert me unless you come in through the main door. You may need to alert me that you're coming, or alert Julie that you're coming, so that we can unlock the door for you. Our doors are still locked.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mark, on the CCMG 2020-1.
Yes. Also in your packet, there was a copy of the agreement between the city of Greensburg and the state of Indiana. This is for $237,297.02, which is what we were awarded in funding a couple of weeks ago that I'm sure you've seen. And we have a very restrictive timeline for this through the Indiana Department of Transportation. So we need to move on this quickly, get our funding in place. We have everything ready to go to bids. So I need approval for this contract. Wait, before we go on, this one, we have special authority that we can get by with a loan signature, and it needs to be reflected in the minutes. So before we approve the contract, I would ask the board to authorize the mayor to serve as the signatory for the city of Greensburg.
Second.
Motion's been made by Rodney King, seconded by Glenn to make me the signatory for this entire city for CCMG 2020-1. Roll call vote on that, please, Brendan. Do we need a vote on that, Mark, or just? Yes, Chris is nodding. Yes, we do. So roll call vote.
We don't want to have any confusion because of the timeline.
Right. Jamie Kane,
Yes.
Glenn Tebby,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
and Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay, now we actually need to agree to the contract.
Correct.
I guess I thought the motion was for both.
No,
it was for signatory for this specific purpose. Now for the contract.
Yeah, I think you need two motions for that. So the first one's been passed. I think you need a second.
Glenn?
I would move approval of the contract with A249-20-1 or -L with the state of Indiana.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Brenda.
Jamie Kane,
Yes.
Glenn Tebby,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
Karen Rust.
Yes.
Okay. Ron May, city engineer, approval of documents for community crossings grant street paving program.
Good evening. In your packet, you should have received a set of proposed contract documents for the 2020-1 CCMG paving project. There were a few edits made late last week to those documents, and those edits I think you received today. They, at the recommendation of NDOT, provided for electronic or digital submission of the bids, and that was changed because we're uncertain if your June meeting will be live or another virtual meeting, and NDOT tells us that we need to receive bids electronically. The bid documents are substantially the same as what we have utilized in the past. Chris Stephen has reviewed the documents and indicated that they're in proper form. So I'm asking you to approve the documents and also to approve a letting in your June meeting, which will be June the 1st. As Mark indicated in his presentation, we have a very condensed timeline for getting this work under contract. If you agree with the June letting date, we will likely try and do a very quick review in your June meeting and hopefully make an award so that we can stay on schedule. NDOT is telling us that if we fall behind their schedule, they will retract the funding, and we certainly don't want to incur that. I think that's it.
Do you need an action from anybody on that, Ron?
I think if the board would approve the documents and agree to the June 1st letting date, just enter it in their minutes would be a clean way to go forward. We will go ahead and publish legal notice as required by statute and make everything ready for June 1 letting.
Well, the documents are pretty standard, so I don't see any reason for us to not say yes to that. And given the conditions that we were asked to live with in order to have the funds, I suppose there's little choice in that as well. So, unless my colleagues have other concerns, I see no reason for us to delay. Not hearing anything, I can't see all of you, but
So is that a motion?
I would make that a motion that we approve the bid letting documents, and that our intent is to have the bids approved at our next board meeting, June, is that 1st?
Yes.
June 1st.
I'll second that motion. Oh, Rodney got it.
Okay. Roll call vote, please, Brenda.
Jamie Kane,
Yes.
excuse me just a moment. Glenn Tebby,
Yes.
Rodney King,
Yes.
and Karen Rust.
Yes.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Sarah Hamer, Building Commissioner, just with really kind of a quick update on what her office has been doing and how we've been handling the last several weeks.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you some updates on what's been happening in the Building Planning and Zoning Office during the shutdown. For the past few weeks, of course, we've been working mainly from home, but we have been coming into the office periodically to check messages, meet people who are needing permits. I have made my cell phone available to people to reach out to me, to be able to come in and set an appointment up if they're needing a permit. Just doing it one person at a time, of course. And so we've been taking care of the needs of the contractors and the citizens in the community during this shutdown. So everything's been flowing nicely on that. Also this past week, myself and Steve Raymer, we have driven throughout the city limits looking for grass violations, junk trash violations, and junk vehicles. We have reported the junk vehicles to Chief Bridges, and his officers are working on that. We wanted to get this done in coordination with the Heavy Trash Week that'll be coming up May 18th, the week of May 18th, so that to coordinate that to where people will get their letters in time to be able to hopefully get their junk and their trash out to the curb for heavy trash pickup week. So it's getting into the busy season. We've had a lot of people, of course, that have been off work that maybe are just out of boredom, but wanting to get some projects done. We've had a lot of fences and decks, a few pool permits, accessory buildings, and those kind of things. So we're trying to stay on top of everything, and so far so good, I believe. Just being on top of the grass issues. We've got repeats from last year, and we're trying to get a handle on it early, so hopefully they get the message that, you know, there is an ordinance, we won't tolerate it, and get things cleaned up and making the city look better in that way. So that's what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Any questions for her? Seeing none, we'll move on. Donna Lecker, manager of our utilities office, with just a quick update on the status of our utilities.
Good evening, everyone. We're doing well, actually. Revenue is up 3% compared to April of last year. As expected, our consumption is down 15% over last year at the same time, but everything's going well. Everybody has been working from home. We come in every day to check messages, and starting last week, I've had one person in every single day to work 7 to 4 to try to ease back into working every day, as well as stay on top of messages. But everything's going well. Thank you.
Donna and her team have done a really good job of adapting and working with customers to set up online pay and via phone and the Dropbox. It's actually been interesting to see there hasn't been too many issues with people wanting to walk in anymore. So we'll assess that as we move forward as well, what options we may have with that. Any questions for Donna? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Kristen, Communications Director for the city, has a couple pieces, including the branded website update, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. So I'm coming before you guys tonight to talk about the rebuild for the City of Greensburg website. We put out a request for proposal in March to have this project redone. Unfortunately, with COVID, our timeline on that has changed a little bit. I was going to bring this to you guys back in April, but we had to cancel, and so I'm now bringing it before you tonight. As a professional service, we are not required to have sealed bids, but hire based on who we believe best meets our needs. I included all the bids for your review in your packet, which you all should have received. But I am recommending that we go with Simple View for these different reasons. Simple View's proposal was the one that had a picture of the courthouse on the front, if you have that in front of you. I'm recommending that we go with Simple View because they met every requirement of the RFP, and they are also have an innovative and secure content management system, which I was really impressed with. It updates like a cell phone software. So if anything were to ever happen, similar to what security threat the courthouse recently had, our system would automatically update and we could prevent something like that. It would also allow city employees to have direct access to the back end of the website to update it on a daily, as daily content changes. So I would have access. I could go in and change things. We could add items to the calendar directly, and then also update our GIS system as it updates, which would go through the wastewater plant. Like I said, it's a secure website, and then we would also spend a yearly amount on this website too, so it's a yearly contract. If you read through the proposal, you saw the amounts and the cost of what this would be. Spending a little bit every year on a website is better than spending a large amount every few years. With traditional websites, usually every few years you have to do a major upgrade, major back-end upgrades, and major design upgrades too, which in the end costs a lot of money. So instead of costing instead of spending a one-time heavy price every 3 years, we would be able to do and keep it updated every year for a price. If you also look through the RFP, you would have seen all the different examples of the different websites that SimpleView has done. They gave a lot of examples with a very broad range of what different types of design they can do, which was very impressive. So you would have seen a lot of the different websites that they've done for different communities across the country, some the same size as us and some bigger than us. They also listed references, and they had great things to say, and those references are 2 local people. One is Philip Dywert with the Visitors Commission, and so we were able to have a little conversation and talk about that. And they are actually, SimpleView is currently redoing their website as well, so they're already here in the community building the Visitors Bureau website. And they would also work with the city rebrand elements, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, which is great. So the website would work with our new brand to show the new direction that we're trying to take the city. So with all of this, I feel confident in the work that SimpleView would put in and confident in the end product that we would receive from them. Over the last few years with different employers, I've been through a couple of website rebuilds, and I've worked with a lot of vendors on projects similar to this. So the RFP that was put before us was a really good one, and I'm highly recommending that we go with it. So I am going to ask the Board of Works for approval to spend not more than $30,000, the amount of the bid plus a little bit more, for any unforeseen additions from the already appropriated Riverboat Fund. And I will take any questions.
Kristen, I had the opportunity to sit down and look through their proposal today, and like you, I was extremely impressed, especially with their security. Mm-hmm. And you talked about the updates, that if we went with a different company, they do an update every couple of years or every 3 years, whatever. With this particular company, we can make our updates on a daily basis as needed. And yes, that's extremely important for our consumers, that we stay up to date technology-wise with what's going on. I think you've got a great company there.
Thank you. Yeah, and it updates. It can update on a daily basis. Like I said, it's like iPhone software. How your iPhone updates as things change, as networks change, as software changes, technology changes, and it was very impressive to see. I think I saw D.
Yeah. So I have a couple comments and a question. I went through several of the examples from all of the proposals, and I also felt SimpleView had the best as far as user friendliness and design and being more towards what we're wanting to move towards as a city, just being up to date, younger, easier to navigate. I thought SimpleView did have the best examples in their websites. And so they were actually my top choice as well out of the 4. But I did have a question about pricing. Mm-hmm. So was a different pricing scheme than the others, and you just explained why, because it's a yearly contract. But do we know what the yearly fee will be after the first year? I'm guessing it'll be less because they're doing all the upfront work this year.
Yeah, so the upfront fee listed in the RFP for year 1 with the complete build, with all the security, working with us on the design, is $26,700. The yearly amount, so after this year, is $10,200 a year, and that is something that we are planning on working into the budget.
Okay, that was going to be my next question is, you have a place to appropriate that in the years to come, so that we can continue to keep it updated and not just let it fall off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board for Kristen on this section? I think that her assessment, and we've talked about this a lot, is spot on and will be very beneficial for us as we move forward as well. And any questions on that? If not, like Chris, I'm sorry, Glenn, go ahead.
Well, one of the things I when I looked at them over the weekend too, I thought this one was, they did the best job of presenting for sure, no doubt about that. And I'm assuming that translates also into their expertise and what we would get. There was such a large difference between the amounts of cost, though. It was dramatic. So what's the this was kind of in the middle. I think this was in the middle, as I recall. Not looking at that last one we got today. But what's the reason? I'm not familiar with building websites, obviously. What do you account for the discrepancy between the one that was very high and the one that was